Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to my channel. So I kind of wanted to start a new sort of video series on my channel that I'm going to try to do every once in a while because I just think it would be a fun idea to interact with you guys, because one of my favorite parts of having a YouTube channel is getting comments and getting to like respond to comments and actually starting a conversation about whatever the topic of the video may be. So what I wanted to do is actually start a sort of video series where the whole point of the video is to start a conversation. So today's video, let me just jump right to the point. Today's video is going to be about alopecia and kind of exploring other symptoms of alopecia besides hair loss. So I've always kind of had my personal theories about my personal other symptoms of alopecia. I know that like the main symptom of alopecia is hair loss, but I've always had certain things about me that I kind of attributed to the fact that I have alopecia. I don't know if that makes sense. I don't know if any of you guys can relate to this. Hopefully this video isn't just completely ridiculous, because maybe I'll name some of these other like symptoms and you'll be like, no, that's just stupid. But I'm kind of feeling that maybe some of you guys feel the same way. So I'll just say what I kind of consider might be other symptoms for me. You guys tell me if you have these same symptoms or if you have other related symptoms, because I just think that would be an interesting way to start a conversation about alopecia, since there isn't like that much known about it. Obviously there's stuff known about it, but obviously there's no like cure. So it's just interesting to explore it more, since like it's sometimes hard to find out like legitimate information online when studying it. I've also seen in my research a lot of people say that if you have alopecia, which is an autoimmune disease, that you are more prone to having other autoimmune diseases. So I don't know if you guys have heard that as well, and maybe some of the symptoms that I have that I'm going to name are kind of because of other autoimmune diseases. And let me know in the comments as well. I don't think I actually have any other autoimmune diseases, but if you have multiple and if you agree that maybe having one makes you more susceptible to others, comment that below, because that would be something very interesting to talk about and to hear your experience with if you do have multiple autoimmune diseases. So one of the huge symptoms of maybe of alopecia, but maybe it's just me, one of the huge symptoms that I always thought was related to alopecia is weak nails. Now, I can't really show you that right now because I have nail polish on. But actually a big part of the reason that I always have to wear nail polish is because if I don't, my nails will chip and flake very, very easily. So my nails are also very ridgy as well. And by ridgy, I mean like the surface of my nails is never really entirely smooth. It'll be kind of bumpy, which is something that the nail polish also kind of covers, but you might be able to see it a little. You can't really tell that badly. It's a lot more noticeable if I'm not wearing nail polish, but you can kind of see it. And that's something that I always kind of attributed to alopecia, because I know that hair and nails are very linked from what I know. So maybe if I have hair that's weak and falling out or whatever, my nails are also weak as well. So let me know in the comments if you guys experience anything similar to that. Another thing is something that I don't know if it's related to alopecia. I don't know if it's related to another autoimmune thing, or maybe it's just something else completely unrelated. But my whole life growing up, maybe not my whole life, maybe since I was in 4th grade, so maybe around the age of like 9 or 10, I started to develop this weird wrist problem where periodically, maybe like once a month or so, my wrist would kind of like freeze up. Like I wouldn't be able to bend it past like normal, and it would last about a week, and if I tried to force it back, it would hurt excruciatingly. So basically my wrist would be frozen straight for about a week once a month. And that would happen pretty much throughout my whole life. It happened all the way through high school, on and off. The frequency decreased as I got older, which is awesome because that made it less of a problem. It only happened every couple months instead of every month, but it was still just as debilitating because I wouldn't be able to use my wrist. It was usually in my left wrist, but occasionally it was in my right wrist, and very rarely it would be in other joints of my body. Sometimes like the tip of my finger I wouldn't be able to bend, and that would usually last only like a day as opposed to a week. Oh, and another detail about it is that it happened a lot more frequently in the winter, in cold months, and sometimes like in rainy days too. Most commonly it would happen specifically on cold, rainy days, like the combination of the two. And again, this might be totally unrelated to alopecia. I've never really contributed it specifically to alopecia, but I have considered whether it's maybe another autoimmune thing. Because when I look up the symptoms, a lot of the symptoms point to arthritis. I don't think I have arthritis, but that would be very interesting because I know that rheumatoid arthritis, I believe, is autoimmune. So it would be very interesting if I was showing like early signs of arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis, which is autoimmune, linked to alopecia, which is also autoimmune. So maybe that's completely unrelated. Obviously, I'm not a medical professional. I had gone to a doctor a couple times for the wrist problem, but nobody really could figure out what it was, and I feel like a lot of the doctors kind of just wrote it off as like, oh, you're just a kid, you're being overdramatic. Meanwhile, like, I couldn't move my wrist at all for like a good portion of my life, so that was obviously a pain in the ass. Now I've pretty much grown out of it, which I'm so grateful for. So I don't know, I also don't know what would make it so that I could grow out of it. That's a little bit odd. Again, it's funny to have this discussion when I'm obviously not a medical professional, and I know that many of you aren't as well. It's still really interesting to kind of like speculate these kind of things, and I'd love to hear if you guys have any theories about your own bodies and other weird traits you have that you might link to autoimmune things as well. A couple other weird things about my body that I might relate to autoimmune things. Like, at this point I might just be telling you weird traits about myself for no reason because they could be completely unrelated, but I'm going to talk about them anyway. One of them is that growing up, mostly when I was very young, and then I grew out of it, but growing up I would get a little patch of eczema on my wrist about like that big, and it was when I was so young that I barely even remember, but I just remember that it would like last a while and then go away. But like, I know that, I'm pretty sure eczema is also autoimmune. I'm not positive about that. Again, this is like the most amateur video because I don't have like a medical degree or anything like that, but I'm pretty sure that was linked to alopecia / autoimmune stuff. And it was mostly when I was a kid, but it happened again when I was in college, I think my freshman year, at like literally one of the most stressful times of my entire college career. Not just because of like the workload, but also because of other like dramas going on in my life. I got so stressed out that for the first time since I was like 7 years old, I got the same patch of eczema on my wrist. And that was like a warning signal for me to be like, okay, clearly you're stressing yourself out so much to the point that you're having a stress reaction physically that you haven't had in like 15 years. So that was obviously like warning signals to me to like get control of my stress levels, because it was clearly getting out of hand when the little patch of eczema came back. But I'm curious to know if you guys have ever had any sort of other skin related things as well related to alopecia, or again, I keep saying related to alopecia, that's just completely speculative. Which one is a word? I'm not sure. It feels right, but yeah, I'm just curious to know your thoughts on that as well. I feel like I keep saying that. Every time I say something, I finish it off with, I'm just curious to know your thoughts as well, but yeah. And the last thing that's just like an interesting trait about my body that could just be completely unrelated is ever since I was a little kid, I don't know if you'll be able to see it at all, but I've had this little tiny bump on my neck. Yeah, on this side. I don't think you can see it visibly. No, not really, but I can definitely feel it if I like put pressure right here. It's kind of like a little bump, but if I push it around, it'll like move. This sounds so disgusting. And when I was a kid, it was much, much bigger. Like, it was actually noticeable when I was a kid. And I'm not sure if it actually got smaller or if I just got bigger and it stayed the same, so it looks much smaller in comparison. It's really weird because it's under the skin. It feels like it's like cartilage or something. That's exactly what it feels like, is cartilage, but it's just always been there. And it's bizarre. I have no idea what that is. Actually, I do kind of feel a tiny bit over here. And then also, it feels much smaller over here though, but it is there. And like, I'm kind of questioning if this is like something that everybody has, but I don't think so. But yeah, so that's all the things that I can think of. Let me know in the comments anything that comes to mind for you. Also, let me know in the comments if you think I'm just being completely ridiculous. But obviously, if you have a kind of like condition that is very uncommon and doctors don't really know all that much about it typically unless they're like a specialist, I can imagine that just like me, you think a lot about it as well and try to think of other symptoms, causes. I'm sure we all have our theories. That's actually another video I want to make of this same like discussion post type of video, is a video on like contemplating different types of causes or cures. Because again, like I said, there aren't like known cures that are 100% effective, but I am curious to sort of like a discussion video about treatments that have worked for you, or maybe like theories that you have but haven't tested out on yourself. It would be interesting to have a conversation about that as well. Also, let me know in the comments below if you like this video idea. It might just be completely weird. I just thought it would be a fun way to start a discussion with you guys rather than just make a video where I'm talking and you just watch. It would be cool to kind of be interactive on this as well. So let me know in the comments also any other discussions you would like to have, different types of topics. They don't have to just be alopecia related, they could also be wig related or even just related to something else entirely. And the more I make these videos, the more I'll probably venture out into other topics as well, but I thought it would be best to start with what I really started my channel on, which is alopecia and wigs, and I know that's what most of my viewers are here for as well, so I definitely want to stay connected with you guys and always go back to making these types of videos. So thank you so much for watching, and don't forget, like I keep saying for like the 100th time, the whole point of this video is to start a conversation, so please comment below your thoughts. Even if you're just saying like, I completely disagree with you, that's totally cool. That's still starting a conversation. So yeah, and don't forget to thumbs up this video and tell me below if you like this idea, and thank you again for watching, and I will see you in the next video.